Okay guys, hi, sorry so much for being a bit late. A few technical difficulties. Those of you that know me know that technology isn't my thing. So I'm Zoe, welcome. Today we are going to go through BLORANGE. So this is the last colour technique that we will show you for tech romance. And the technique in the book, if some of you have already seen it, is very, very similar to Wild Orchid. So what I've done is I've just changed it up slightly just so you can see a variation of what we're doing, okay? So instead of using the more violet-y, purpley tones, we're going to work with more softer, mainly Stella Salmon, a little bit of aquamarine. So section-wise, what I've done is still working alongside an ombre, reverse ombre type look. We're going to start with the three different colours. So our darkest to a medium mid-band to then a light. So it should give this really fluid look when we're finished. And what I've done is I've created, I don't know if you can see it, so I'll just take her off her stand a second. It's just sort of a diamond shape, which is just a nice straight solid line, because I really want that sort of definition through the bottom there. I really want a heavy bottomness. I've cut in a little fringe, but we'll go through that next week. I haven't done it properly, just so I can guide myself to where the colour should go, because we don't want to put the colour in, then I cut the fringe and it all disappears. So just a little bit of shape in there. And then what I've done through the top section is I've created a halo section, but I've been using a zigzag. So what the zigzag will do is it will just start to incorporate the mid-band and the lighter colour on the top a bit more seamlessly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just do this all with highlights, because that is the main focus of tech romance. It's a great product. For those of you that haven't tried the new formula, you're going to have such a great time when you do. It's much easier to work with. As you can see, it's a bit more of a gel-like consistency, so a lot less drips when you're in the salon, which will make working with it a lot easier. Just move those down. Perfect. So the underneath colour, we've worked with the pastel filter and we've used 25 grams of that, and then we've added in 6 grams of the Stella Salmon. So we just want it to be quite vibrant. If you've seen the picture, it is quite strong through the underneath section, and that's going to create just a really heavy baseline. It's going to give a lot of fullness to the hair, but then by using the technique, it's going to give some softness to it as well. So I'm just going to press the highlight onto the hair. Now, I'm not using the silicone brush for this section, just because I love it. It's a great tool, but it would just take me too long. So I'm going to use the silicone brush more for the precision work that I've got coming up. All right, so you will get to see how that works. I know John went through it with you guys for Wild Orchid. Did a great job, because again, technology failed me, so I must apologise. I'm not very 21st century apparently when it comes to technology. It breaks and I'm like, oh my god, what to do? But we had the lovely Marika from marketing on the phone helping us, as you may have heard at the beginning, so again, apologies about that. Also, we have John in the comment section. He's going to be answering your questions, because I actually can't see them. So if I see any pop up, I will try and get them answered. But because they're on the Elgon page and I'm on the social trainer page, I can't actually see them. But that's amazing. He'll be able to look after that. Oh, hi, Doreen. I'll be able to answer your questions. So, just working through with our mixture of the pastel and the Stella Salmon. We're just going to push that through. Now notice when I work with it, I'm not just doing this and just like scraping it off as we sometimes do when we colour. It's very similar to the way that we would apply in Mageia. So because the texture is a lot thicker, we do want to just push that in and just saturate each coat of hair. Oh, hi Craig, lovely to see you. So I do have some people in the PDLE page. This is lovely. I was beginning to think I was all by myself and just talking to myself. And that's fine, I do it all the time, but not on a Facebook Live. So let's just protect our client's neck just with some of the Elgon foil. So again, the Elgon foil, I love, love, love. It's got little indents in it. And what those indents will do is they help to adhere to the colour, which then means it'll stick and they won't be sliding all over. So it just makes your colouring a little bit easier. All right. So just a bit of background on how to get to this bleach stage. Oh, hey, Rosanna. So when we're working with our fashion tones, as we've said in previous Facebook Lives, we really, really, really need to be working with pre-toning, because we know that keratin is yellow. So when you lift the keratin, you're going to be exposing, when you lift the hair, you're going to be exposing the natural yellow of the keratin. If you don't see yellow, you've gone too far. So what we need to do is we just need to neutralise that. So to work with these colours, we ideally want to be on a pale yellow. So we're on a pale yellow. We're going to be neutralising with a yellow-based toner or silver shampoo, whichever you prefer to work with, really, just to sort of give us a nice clean base. When I shampooed my lovely client, I used the Elgon silver shampoo because it is pigmented. Sometimes if you get the lift, it's enough. So I'm all for, if I don't need to use a colour to do my pre-tone, then I'm not going to. Hey Daniel. So up to you. If you do feel like you've got a little bit more work to do, of course, use colour or eye care or the silver highlight, just something to neutralise. Although, because we're working with sort of salmon tones, you know, if this was to go over a little bit of yellow, it would give you the most beautiful rose gold effect. So, you know, it's more when you're working with your ash tones that you really, really need to think about how it's going to interact. So go back to your preschool or first school or whatever and think back to your painting and the colour star, you know, because what you have on the hair and then what you put on top will interact in the same way as painting colours. So that means that you have to really just think it through. But once you get that, it's perfect. So just making sure my line is crisp. Don't want that little bit of hair in there. I also did use my sublimia to just even out porosity within the hair, because it's a doll's head and who knows how many chemical processes she's had on her hair to get to this length. So just want to make sure that I've got nice and even. So just putting on some sublimia DD leave-in conditioner just to help even that porosity out. You know, we keep going on about it, but we think when salons are back open, if they're not already in your area, people are going to have been trying to do their hair at home. So that means that there's going to be a lot of corrections, or I've seen a lot more people are doing like Facebook and Instagram lives, just like we are. So, you know, they are playing with their hair that little bit more, so it may be a bit drier, a bit more damaged, or someone may have tried to bleach their own hair and cause a bit of damage. So we really need to start thinking of all of these little things, like how's the integrity of the hair? Will this service work on this client? You know, you've also got to manage the expectations of that. But let's talk a little bit about BLORANGE. Where did it come from? So if you've seen the model, she's stunning, she's lovely. We were very, very lucky in the fact that she had pretty light hair already, so we didn't have to over bleach it. It was good conditioned, which is a godsend, because sometimes when you're working on models' hair, it's not as healthy as you would like it to be. So we were really lucky in that respect. And she had the sort of complexion that if you were to put ash next to her skin, she would look quite worn out, quite tired, because she was quite pale. It's beautiful, pale with blue eyes. And the pink and the rose gold, they just helped to warm up her skin that little bit. And as we keep saying, it's all about suitability for the client. So we really wanted to give her something that was going to look good on her, really. And because it's highlight, you know, it's not going to last them like 6 to 12 months. It is a very temporary colour, so clients can change it as much as they want. They can get really like adventurous with it. So I think, yeah, it's just really working out what's going to suit your client. But also, Tech Romance was about romance meets the digital age, and I think that's so perfect, especially sorry, it's freezing in the UK today, especially within like this dating culture where everybody is like online dating, you know, people are using the internet to find love. And I think that's a perfect way of explaining Tech Romance, actually. That is romance in a digital age. And I don't know, I always think, when I think of computers, and because obviously I don't get along with them, I always just think of cold. And that kind of played in my mind when I came up with these colours and these formulas, because yeah, I feel like the computer, even though it connects the world, and yeah, you're like constantly connected, you're also on your own, and like that can be a little bit like cold. And the blue screen, again, it's blue is associated with cold and calm, so I wanted to just incorporate a little bit of warmth. And then you'll see in my next formula, we've started to bring in the colder colours, but mixing them with our Stella Salmon. So it just gives that barely seen undertone of oh, it's pink, but it's not quite the pink I know. I like to call them like metallic pinks and metallic pastels. A bit like the mineral colours you would see in moda and styling. You know, they're very fashion forward colours and could essentially be quite bubblegummy. But then just because they had this like undertone of a little bit of blue in them, it gave them this really cool, quite cold, quite like fashion forward look. So that's what we were doing when we started mixing in the aquamarine into the colours. But it's also about, yeah, you know, opposites attracting, as if you will. Like I said, computers and romance, warm and cold, you know, it's just about pushing the boundaries that little bit and just seeing what you can get. I'll move her back a bit because you just can't really see her. There we go. So now I'm just going to work back away from the face. So this is all just about keeping our customer nice and clean, you know, so she's not getting she's not getting highlight all over her face, because it will stain and it will be very difficult to get off because they are super pigmented. But the texture just makes it such a pleasure to work with. You can see it's just easily spreadable. Obviously, like the length of time that you leave it, it can be up to 15 minutes. The more time that you leave it, the more vibrant, more vivid it's going to get. So just bear that in mind when you're working. But it's good because the lab done a great job in the fact that you can actually see what colour it's going to be. So as soon as it hits the hair, you can see exactly what's going to happen. And I think that's, especially in the salon environment, when you maybe are running around like a headless chicken, which is going to happen again when all the salons are open, you don't have time to be like, just like really like scraping colour off and keeping an eye on it. Sometimes you just need to see what's happened and see it there, and then without having to like really get in there. So they're a nice easy product to work with. But they'll also, yeah, you can make a bespoke service for your clients to take home, which again I think is important, because clients are wanting a more bespoke service and experience now. Gone are the days where you had like maybe 5 people sitting in a row having the same thing done. People are individuals. They want a service that is tailored to them. They don't want to see you recommending the same thing to every client. So with these, you can either find the corresponding eye care, if we have it, for at-home maintenance, or you can create your own bespoke shampoos and conditioners by just mixing them in with the masks or with the shampoo if your client prefers to do it as more of a rinse rather than a treatment. Just find out what they prefer, but it's a great retail opportunity. And again, because of the pandemic, you know, people are probably going to put off, we've got it all over our face. People are probably going to put off going to the salon as much, just to sort of social distance, keep away. So if you can offer them a way to maintain their fashion colours whilst they're at home, so they don't have to come into the salon as much, they're really going to appreciate that. You know, it's that level of service that people are beginning to expect from everywhere. And also the Instagram, you know, so again, fitting in with the theme, the influencers and people like are going to advertise your services over Instagram or Facebook or their chosen social media. So the more you can do that's a bit bespoke for them, the better, really. Let me just concentrate on this little bit. So with the fringe, so just gonna quickly give her a little wipe because my hands are a little messy. So yeah, with the fringe, like I said, I have changed it slightly. So normally there'd be a lot more in the fringe, but because I want to just show you a little bit of a different technique, really, like we don't want to be showing you the same thing every time. It's more of a point here. So this is the beginning of the diamond, going down to the secondary point above the ear and then down to just between the nape of the neck. This is going to give a really interesting sort of feel to the colour. It's just going to make it feel a little bit fluid, a little bit softer than maybe the image was, because the image was very strong. It's probably one of my favourite in the whole collection, and next week I'll show you how to style that. But you know, it is a very strong image, so whatever we can do to just soften that slightly, make it more salon friendly, if you will, is good. So this also is going to be great for you to use with like your tints or your browns or your blonde toners if you want to do a bit of zone toning, which is always fun. You know, you can play around with this. Doesn't always have to be with highlight. Just make sure you're pressing your colour in. Also, compared to the image, if you've got the book and you look at it a bit later, the hair is a lot shorter. So I have just tailored it to the kind of hair that I'm working with. And then just put that down here. But you can see it's got this most beautiful salmon feel. The name says it all, doesn't it? Let's just spin her around a bit so you can see. Let's carry on working this back. But that's the fun with tech romance, you know. The techniques that don't have to just be followed directly, you know. It's literally, you don't have to just use highlight. We wanted to make them as salon friendly as possible. So yeah, and it's also as versatile as possible. Because yeah, you don't want to just have a technique that's only suitable for highlight. But I'm just going to have to mix a little bit more colour because I doubled up on my formula, but it's just not quite enough. So my handy Elgon scale. I'm just going to talk amongst yourselves while I do this for 1 second. So I've got my pastel filter. I want 25 grams of this. Oh. Like I say, it's got like the handy little lid that you can twist, which is easy when you've got colour all over your hands or you want to apply it directly to the client's hair. Say you were doing a blending technique. So that's 25 of that. And then 6 grams of our Stella Salmon. So you'll notice that our tones are a lot smaller than the pastels, or the filters, sorry, the pastels, the vintage or the dark, because you would use more of your mixing mediums than your tones, because the tones are very, very highly pigmented. And then just in our nice new crystal bowl, you can see what the colour is supposed to look like, and you can just see how it's mixing, it's interacting lovely, just nice and easy. And then yeah, the no drips. So let's get back to that. Okay. On a little tangent there. It's because I don't want to have like one supremely like coloured side and then one side that's just got barely there. So that's why it's super important to always, always, always write down your mixtures, so that if you do run out or the next time she comes in, you know what you've got. It's so weird not having the comments on. So strange not having like to answer people's questions, but I know John's in the chat answering all your questions, which is amazing. But if any new people have joined us, welcome. We're just going through BLORANGE, which is our last look that we'll be going through for Tech Romance. So next week I'll be showing you a little bit of a cut, but mainly focusing on styling and how to get that sort of California worn-in beachy kind of wave, because I know it's a bit of a struggle, you know, sometimes to get that wave. You don't know which tool to use. Should you be using a straightener? Should you be using a curling tongue? Should you be doing the waves all the same way, different ways, you know? It was great actually watching Marco on the styling the model's hair, because you always pick up so much. Like, I love, love, love watching other people work, because, you know, everyone's been taught by, well, most people have been taught by someone different, or have a different intake of how to use certain tools, certain products. So it's always just nice to just get that little bit of inspiration almost. And just like a sponge, it's just so therapeutic watching people do hair. Well, most of the time, I mean, you do have them moments where you're in a salon. I used to see it on a Saturday and someone's running like an hour behind or whatever, and they're just trying to get the tint put on, and they're like slapping the tint everywhere and pulling the client's head back and forwards, and there's tint up the walls. I don't know if John's seen that, but it might have been me at some point or other. You know, it's nice when people take their time and really enjoy what they're doing. And I think the new formula that I like really gives you that time to just work the product in. You've got a little time to work with it. You don't have to worry about getting it on super, super quickly, because of the texture. It really just helps the application, just really gets in there and holds the hair. Just gonna quickly tidy your hair up a bit. Yeah, I would recommend that you keep a towel by you at all times when you're working with these techniques, just because, yeah, they're a little messy. So lots of colour on your hands at all times, you know, it gets a bit slippy. And plus, when you're working with your neck section, I'm all about saving the environment and not using loads and loads of plastic gloves. So if you can just keep the one pair and just keep it clean, perfect. But I know that, again, is going to be a bit more difficult in this time. It's okay if you're working on a doll's head, but yeah, if you're in the salon, you must be changing your gloves every time and wearing all your personal protective equipment. So that's your masks, your aprons, you know, your Elgon colour apron. Gloves are a must, just to keep everybody safe, because once we're allowed to travel, can't wait to see you all. So do you want to keep safe and sound in the meantime. Alright, so that is the underneath. But yeah, so like I say, if you just, instead of changing your gloves between colours, just give your hands just a little clean, because I mean the colours aren't too dissimilar for the bottom and the middle, so you can just give them a nice little wipe. If you're a bit concerned, a bit of spray of water will help to get the colour off. So I'm just gonna fold these through just to keep them nice and tidy. It's not important that you do this, it's nice just to keep it nice and tidy, and the client's not got foil flapping around it. It'll keep them nice and secure. There we go. There we are. Okay, so that's colour 1. So you can see it's just got a nice little point in the middle here, where colour number 2 is just going to start protruding through. Also, just to protect here, I'm going to add some foil. So I know those of you that have been on training courses with myself and John, you know that we like to just section everything off, just to keep ourselves right more than anything, just so we can see what we're doing. And I always think it's quite nice as well, because I'm like, okay, then that's done, and I can see it. It's almost like I've finished that section. I can move on with like a fresh mindset. So let's just release this area. I'm just going to spray it back down slightly because of my technical issues. It's dried out just a little bit. And yeah, the weather's been so changeable here. I've had to have the heating on and now I'm getting too hot. So the hair's drying super quickly. Alright. So for those of you who've just joined us, I see like Claudio, Florence, Kay. We're just going through BLORANGE, but it isn't the technique that was in the book. I've tried to keep it as reminiscent of the technique as possible. I just want to show you a variation. So we've created a diamond from the front hairline to just above the ear, back down to the nape in one colour, which was 25 grams of pastel to 6 grams of Stella Salmon. Then we've created a zigzag halo through the top just to blend the hair a little bit more. And this is where I'm going to use my silicone brush. So for this we've done 25 grams of pastel, 4 grams of Stella Salmon, 1 gram of aquamarine and 1 gram of wild orchid. Sounds crazy, but the mixture really works. Just having the 1 gram of the aquamarine or the 1 gram of the orchid just gives it a little bit of a different feel. So you can see it's just all ready there to be mixed up. And it just gives this incredible, I would say mink, almost kind of like a really dark, deep mink. You know, it's not quite pink, it's not quite purple, there's a colour in there. It's going to change in the light, like if you look at petrol or oil on the floor, you know, you can really see the change in the light. That's what we wanted with this technique. A little bit reminiscent of, I would say, maybe like a holographic feel, you know, where you move the hair, you curl the hair, it interacts just in really interesting ways. That's what we went for with this technique. So you can see I've got my little zigzags coming through there. So what I'm going to do is just with my soft precision brush, just push it onto the roots. And that's going to get right in between all of your little peaks and apexes of the zigzag, sorry. When it's that shape, I always go triangle. It's the easiest thing, isn't it? And I'm going to just work my way around, because I want to get all of the little fiddly bits done first, and then I can go through and with my big brush, with my Elgon tint brush, that's going to really just help me to get that through quickly. Because like I say, you know, going back after this time, we are going to have to be working a lot. I wouldn't say faster, I would say smarter, because the way that we use products, the way that we think about products, on which ones to use, you know. I know that there was John did a little thing on 10-minute colour last week, you know, looking into options like that just to help keep us moving is quite a good idea. So just to make my life a little bit easier, I will use the soft precision brush for my root area just to get right in there, and it's not going to interfere with my next section, because my next section is quite a light colour, so I don't want to have any little splodges. Even though it's at the root, I don't want to have that there. Okay. Oh. You can see it holds the product really well, so it means that I'm just getting the product exactly where I want it, rather than when I think with the bigger brush, the tint brush, it'd be quite difficult to get in there. Okay. It takes a little bit longer, but only a little bit, and I think the results speak for themselves once you can see how clean your application is, and when you've finished and you see how it looks, it's great. Okay, so let's move that out of the way. Yeah, because I always tell people when I'm doing a workshop or training, or people ask me, you know, if you do a clean application, you get a very clean result. So it's like probably toners are the best example for this. So when you're applying a toner, you know, if you just shampoo it through the hair rather than section the hair off, and you don't necessarily have to do the 4 quadrants, you can just do half and half. But if you're just going to shampoo it through, you're going to have spots everywhere. So when you come to dry it, you're really going to notice that, and the client will probably notice it too. So just by taking that little bit of time, if you're running behind, get someone to help you. I used to always get my assistants to help because it's a nice little training exercise for them as well. Just to get it on nice and evenly, so that your result is going to be super clean. It's going to be like Instagrammable hair, because we know that everybody's visit to the salon now always ends up on Facebook or Instagram, you know, so Instagram is your business. I love looking at people's Instagrams. I find it fascinating, especially through the lockdown. I've really been watching what hairdressers are doing, and it's great, because I feel like when you work for a brand, like a big brand, and I'm sure John would agree, you're kind of almost pigeonholed into their aesthetic rather than your aesthetic, you know, because it's somebody else's brand. They've built up what they want the brand to look like, which is great, and it's a great way of learning possibly something that you might not know. Like, I know when me and John worked together, we worked for a very, very big London company. Great. Training was phenomenal. It was amazing. And I learned so much. But as you find yourself as a hairdresser, the aesthetic wasn't really me, you know. They like very sort of like bold, like panels of colour. Very, very light. It's beautiful. They do it so, so well. But I like things a bit more fluid, you know, a bit softer. And I remember at the time when I was working there, I thought that, and this is because I was younger, it was nothing that they did. I just thought that the way I did hair, because I did very, very fine highlights, so you barely see them, you're very natural. And yeah, they like them a bit more chunky, so I thought that I was doing it wrong. But now that I've been looking, well, now that I'm older and I've travelled a bit, and you realise that no, it's not, it's just a different look. So what I was getting at was, yeah, I've been looking at people and the avant-garde work that you're seeing, or even just the colouring you're seeing, and this could be people that you think you know as a colourist, and they're really surprising me in what they're bringing out, because yeah, a lot of the time it's nothing like they've been posting on Instagram before, because they've got the time to really think about what they're doing and what they want to see and how they want the mannequin to look. And they don't have the stipulations from the client. So that's always quite nice as well. When, like, actually I used to find it quite terrifying. When a client came in and was like, oh, just do what you want. Not knowing the client that well. I mean, you know a side of them from coming in the salon, but you don't know them. That used to terrify me. because I'm like, oh, what if I do it wrong? Like, what if it's not what they want? You know, so it's just been really interesting to watch. And I think also to see people grow as hairdressers as well. Like, I think the playtime on your mannequin head is, it's an amazing time. Like, you can really just try things and see, because, you know, you have all these ideas floating around your head. But sometimes, I mean, you never know if they're going to work. Let you into a secret. I don't know what this is going to look like because I haven't tried it. I was thinking about it last night and I was just sort of like, oh, this could be quite interesting. So we will all be seeing it for the first time together. How exciting is that? But, you know, before we even touched a model's hair, myself, John and Marco, we spent a couple of days in the headquarters working on mannequins to make sure that myself and Marco, we were in line of how we wanted everything to look. And luckily, actually, we were like, I don't think there was one point where we were like, oh no, actually I want to do something different. We both have quite a similar aesthetic. He's obviously California, so it's all very, very soft, cool girl hair. So I don't really think we had a problem there. We really like worked well together. But that time in the headquarters was so important to get in the aesthetic of tech romance right. Because also, let's not forget, you know, it's a very popular trend right now, pastelised colours. They're very, very popular. So we wanted to do something that was going to be on trend with the season. So we knew tech romance was coming out. I think it was like January time. So it would be like winter to spring, I think, if I've got my seasons right. So we wanted to, just make sure that everything was going to fit in. And then, see, now we've got Gentle Energy coming out more for the summer. And I don't know if you guys have seen the imagery of, I'm very proud of her, the blonde lady. The request was blonde with no tone. So no silver, no pink, no gold. So a nice, clean, what I would call cashmere blonde. So, you know, so we wanted to make sure everything was like on trend with what was coming out, and we had to really look at what tones were going to be popular at the time that we launched Tech Romance. And I think the lab's done a really good job. Like, these are all completely on trend, and I don't know if you can see this like minky colour that's coming through now. I'm going to let you into another little secret. So the top, no, this colour actually, I did add a little sneaky 2 grams of the vintage filter because I just wanted a little bit more worn in. So if you are going to try this at home, you please try it with the vintage or try it without so you can see both results. But I just wanted to get a little bit more of a worn in feel, a little bit of a contrast, which when we cut it next week, you'll notice how it works. And I wanted these two, because of the way the layers are, to interact in a different way than the top. Because I wanted this to be almost like really visible, like through this section here, if like your client's wearing curly hair, just so you can really see the dark against the mint colour. Whereas the medium and the top tone, I wanted to work with something a little bit softer, you know. So again, like I said when we did Stella Pastel, I really like doing a juxtaposition. So putting things that don't necessarily belong together next to each other. So I've gone with your defined line with your softer lines, and then we've added in our aquamarine and our wild orchid into what could become quite a girly soft colour. We just really wanted to give her a little bit of an edge. And I think when you see the styling of the models, it kind of works. You know, we have Stella Salmon here, where her hair is an epitome of juxtaposition. So she is cold and warm, and then the structure of her gown is very striking because she is the main image of this trend story. So she needed to have that, wow, like look at it. Whereas the rest of the girls, we could be a little bit softer with and make it a little bit more, again, salon friendly is the term I'm going to use there, because it's not often that a client will come in and be like, I want purple and orange. Actually, no, maybe now. Because I've been seeing a lot of this Billie Eilish hair online, where it's neon green roots down to black, or really bleached out colour to the front to a softer at the back, but very, very strong lines. And it looks super cool, and it's done amazingly, and I love it. So depends where you are, depends what your market prefers. Like I say, just tailor it to each customer, make it a bespoke service. You know, clients come to the salon to escape reality, so we want them to have that fanciful experience, you know, just giving them the room to try things out. If they're a little bit worried about it and how long it'll last, just add a little bit more of the pastel. So it's super soft, because we know pastelized colours they'll rinse out quicker than more vivid colours. So yeah, you could always just do that, or not leave it on as long so it's a bit softer. You know, just play around with it and see. I always just found being honest with my clients about what I wanted to try. Visuals are always good if you can get them, but sometimes when it's something out of your head, you kind of have to try and draw it. Maybe I've done that a few times. Actually, I had one client come in, I can't remember where she was from. She was on a school trip over from, I want to say Germany. I think it was Germany. It was a long, long time ago. And she just popped into the salon one day and was just sort of like, this might be a bit strange. I thought, oh, okay, I like strange. And she was like, I've drawn a design. And I said, oh, okay. So, not really the right area for a design, but okay. And she was like, I've done step-by-step instructions of how to do it. And I was like, okay. And she basically designed her own haircut. And logically, as a hairdresser, I looked at the design and I was like, oh, no, this is going to look awful. It was this kind of, it's like a mullet, a fashionable mullet, I suppose. And I was like following these step-by-steps. Luckily, it was a Tuesday, so I wasn't that busy. It was like my admin day. So I was just taking one or two clients just to break up the monotony of spreadsheets. And I was just doing it, and I was like, oh my god, this makes no logical sense. Like, all of my training was telling me that this isn't going to work, it's not right. But you know, she was paying for my time, and I was just like, I'm going to do it. I did try to talk her out of it, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was young and a little bit arrogant and probably thought I knew best. And she was like, no, just trust me. I think she had she was doing a design degree, so I mean, she has some background. Do you remember John? Yeah, because John was just sitting there, and he was on the desk, and he was just like, oh. I was like, no, you're not going to do that, are you? And because I got the assistant to shampoo the hair, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I was just like, I'm going to have to do it. She wants it done, but I was just like, it's going to look horrible. And I was asking advice, because like John's cutting is phenomenal. And I was like asking for advice on it, and I was just a bit like, I'd not long moved from a small town up north, and wasn't really the most confident on the floor. And John was just like, just do this. And he taught me like a different technique to use. But I feel so guilty, so I actually ended up following the instructions, to cut a long story short, and it was amazing. It was like such a good result. Halfway through, I mean, I was standing there and I was going, oh god, like wanting to be a bit sick in my mouth, like getting really hot, because I was just like, she's not going to like it, she's going to hate it, she's going to put a Google review up, no one's going to come to me anymore, I've only been here 6 months. You know, I was having an internal like crisis. And then like at the end, when I started texturizing it and finishing it off, it looked amazing. Like, she had done such a good job of designing this cut, and it was just something I would never have thought to do, because cutting, I love cutting, but I don't see the structure of it in the way of a designer. I'm more of a, oh, let's just try and see what happens kind of girl. And like after that, I was just like, I just learned to just, if a client is coming in to see me and she wants me to do exactly what she says, I'm just going to do it, because, you know, some thought went into that, and it was great fun. I mean, not at the time, looking back, it was great fun. But we had a few of those. I think John got more than me, because he was the cutter of the salon. So he got a lot more than me. We had a Spanish guy named Victor, a phenomenal cutter as well. He used to get some really, really interesting ones. I don't know if they came and like told him how to cut it or he just tried it, because he didn't really speak much English, but he seemed to communicate with his clients in a way that I've never seen, and they used to always love the hair, so you know, whatever he did was like great. So yeah, so long as you're honest with your client and open to like trying new experiences with them, it's super fun, you know. So let's get back to this after my long story. Thing is, I can't see what any of you are saying, so I'm just like wondering if you're all going, oh my god, Zoe, shut up, like what ridiculous story. Or if anyone's even watching this over on the watch party, who knows, could just be talking to myself. Happens all the time. All right, so that's it for my soft brush. Let's go back into my Elgon brush now and just get these ends through. But I don't know if you can see, it's just the most beautiful, strange mink colour. Kind of like the colour of jelly you get on a plane. I've always wondered what that colour was. But you can just see, just by using the bigger brush through the ends, I can just save myself a little bit of time. Thanks. So yeah, just saving a little bit of time, but using the soft brush where I need to. I mean, if you can do a whole colour with the soft brush, good on you. Like, and I watched John do it on the step-by-step when I was meant to be there, but internet failed us. And I was just sort of like, I'm too impatient for that. Like, I love detail work, but I'm far too impatient to just do the whole thing. So I just like to use my bigger brush. Okay, so I'm just going to go back over this section, just because I can see that there wasn't quite enough colour on there. So if you can see a lot of blonde through your colour, he was very good, Doreen. I watched it, well, came in the comments a bit after and nailed it. But if you can see a little bit of the blonde through when you're painting your colour, you're going to see it when you dry the colour, okay? So it's best just to double over. Nice to be a bit safe, you know? It's the weirdest thing doing these Facebook Lives. I don't know if you've done them in your area, but it's very strange. I mean, like I say, I like to talk to myself. I do it all the time. But then doing it on camera is a whole different ballgame. So it's quite nice when like people like talk back to you and it's like having a conversation. Okay. So as I said, next week, I think same time, same day, be going through cutting and styling. I mean, if you want to, please feel free to have your doll's head ready, wet. I can put a little list of what we're going to use on my social media, and then you can actually work alongside me. Might be quite interesting if you want to. But I know some of you will have worked a full day, some of you will have just got out of bed, so you don't have to. Like the Elgon hair along show. Alright. And just really making sure that my fringe has got enough colour in there, because you know that's the area that your client sees. So I'm not saying that you should, but you know, you should always make sure that the front is like perfect, because the back you can get away with a lot more than the front, but the front is like, it's your focal point. So really make sure that you've got enough colour through there. Let's just make sure. And just make sure that you've got all of your peaks and your apexes are all coloured, okay? Because you don't want to have little bits of blonde shining through on the roots. So just beware of that, that's all. Calm them down a little, and all this is doing is it's making it easier for me again to get in between each of my little areas. Okay, So just by twisting the ponytail at the end, or the length of hair, I'm just kind of securing it, and it's just giving a bit of tension here, and that tension is just going to help me with my top section. So what I'm going to do, move it back a little bit. Yeah, I will actually. Wasn't prepared for this, but clearly. So yeah, all we do is to fold it in half and just pop it around. I'm going to rip myself one more piece of foil. Quite clearly, when I was late to get here this morning, I was very prepared. And like I was saying to you earlier, just having the dents and the emboss in the foil, it just holds it to the hair. It just adheres much easier to the hair. Let's put a clip on there to hold it. Perfect. And let's let this down. So what I'm going to do is just move these two over here, so give myself a little bit more room. Wet this area down. And you can see, I don't know if any of you tried when we did Wild Orchid. In Wild Orchid, because it's a halo and it's a perfect circle without any zigzags, it's quite a lot of hair, so there is quite a mound of hair at the top, and it takes quite a lot of working through. By creating a smaller section at the top, we're not going to have that sort of blanket of lighter colour. It's going to be a lot more transient through the rest of the hair. So this colour is 15 grams of pastel with 3 grams of Wild Orchid and 1 gram of aquamarine. So we know, even though this is quite purple in the bowl, I don't know if you can see that, you can. It is quite like vivid in the bowl. Because of the amount of pastel, you're not really gonna see that. It's not gonna be too much. Once you start putting it through the hair, you'll see it's a very, very soft colour. But it's just gonna help to merge all of these colours. And it might sound like, oh my God, what is she doing? There's like so many colours in this hair. It's gonna look lovely, trust me. So again, let's just go through our apexes, our points. Again, I'm using my soft brush just to get right into there. And you can see already it's more of a silvery sort of tone rather than a vivid violet. And it's just going to help us work our way through. So literally anything you can do to make your life easier is a win. I used to, again, when I was young and finding my hairdressing feet, I used to think that everything had to be done in the most difficult way to look professional. So I know that John used to say to me sometimes, like, why are you doing that way? Like, there's an easier way. And I'd be like, no, I'm going to keep doing it this way. I'm a very stubborn person. So when I was saying, no, I'm going to do it my way, I would keep doing it my way until one day I'd be like, okay, tell me. You know, and then he would like release his wisdom to me. And then, yeah, it's evident since then. It's like, it's not finding a shortcut, but finding a way to make your life easier. And I do think the more that you play and the more that you do things and the more people that you watch, the different hairdressers from different countries as well, because, you know, every country has its own aesthetic. It's not all the same as the country you're living in, which again, when I started with Elgon, was a bit of a shock to me, because I just assumed, you know, everyone had the same aesthetic, but I hadn't really travelled much by this point, and was just sort of like, oh yeah, what's good for where I live will be good for everywhere. It's so different, and it's really nice, like, watching the hairdressers of other countries, just like learning from them and taking bits and pieces from it. I think is great, especially when I'm in Asia. Like, I'm obsessed with digital perms, because in the UK, never heard of them. No real need to digital perm your hair. We don't really perm in the UK anymore. no matter how many times you read the perms coming back, it never quite has, for the UK anyway. But I think I was teaching in, it's Thailand I was teaching in, and it is the first time I saw the machine and like all these wires coming off it, like off this lady's head. I was terrified, like literally terrified. But the woman was sitting there, super calm, super relaxed, reading a magazine or a book or whatever it was. And I'm panicked because, you know, you just don't see that in the UK, and I really want to learn how to do them. Just because I think it'd be a really interesting thing. Like the theory behind it, I think is, not that I know much of it, but the theory that I think is behind it will be amazing. And yeah, I think next time I'm there, I definitely will be finding somebody to explain it and teach it to me. Okay, so here we're just running through, much like we did with the rest of the hair. Now, these layers in the haircut are quite short, but just in case I decide to have a little play around with the shape, I'm going to make sure all of the hair is covered, and I'm just taking it all the way back away from the face. So like we were saying before, all about client comfort. You know, while she's sitting there, she doesn't want things like flopping in her hair, and yeah, it's just all about just making the experience as nice as possible and just enjoying what you're doing. Like, I love applying the highlight. Also, it's just a delight to work with, you know, the texture. Like I said, it is very reminiscent of Imager. Imager is a little thicker, but, you know, just the way you work with it and pushing it through. And I was playing around with sections and tones and products last week, and I actually did use the soft brush to apply the Imager, and it worked great. And I think it was actually Doreen from Australia who told me that. She was said that silicone brushes are great to use with Imager, and I listened and I tried, and it was amazing. I am now a convert, because I remember we were discussing them, and I had one in my bag, and I was like, oh, I don't really know if I like them, you know. Like I said, I'm stubborn. I like what I know. And yeah, when she said it, I was like, I'm going to give it a go. Tried it. I'm in love now. It just makes the application so much easier, so much smoother. Like, there's no like, in the hair, it just glides through the hair. I love it. Actually, be sad when we move Trend Stories to Gentle Energy. Not because I don't like Gentle Energy, I love it, but I won't get to play with the highlight anymore. I had so much fun playing with highlight. It's like being a child again. But yeah, Gentle Energy. Oh, can't wait for you guys to start seeing the techniques and what's coming out. And yeah, if you haven't already seen any of it, please go onto our Instagram or our Facebook, Elgon Cosmetics, and have a look, because, you know, we are all super proud of all of our work, but we are like this image. I think it's just, the blonde I think is my favourite one that we did, until you see one of the other ones, but I can't tell you about that right now. I'll tell you when you see it. But yeah, please have a look, and also just keep checking in, because there's loads of little videos on our YouTube channel, you know, little how-tos, just little product updates. So, you know, if you're not sure on a product, there's little videos. I've done one on eyelight and eye care. John's done 10-minute colour, and I can't remember the other one. So, you know, we just like little ways just to explain it, just to help you to understand. And then later we'll be posting the finished colour result on my social and on Elgon socials. If you are interested, if you like surprises and you just want to wait until next week, obviously feel free, it's not a problem. You know, just keep an eye. And also, don't forget to look in our tagged photos. I love looking in our tagged photos. You see some of the most beautiful work from like just all over the world. So yeah, have a look at just what some of our clients are creating, and if you've done anything that you want to show us, please just tag us in it, and yeah, we'll like keep looking at it, and we love to see your work. If you do an interpretation of this, please let us know. You can tag us at Elgon Cosmetics. We have a hashtag I love highlight, which we look at. So you know, we love seeing your work. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure, because I'm just looking at this, and I don't know if you can see that it is blue, but it's not quite as saturated as the top. So I'm just going to use whatever colour I have left and just make sure my ends are fully covered. I don't want any little purple spots of highlight, because those little spots, they're just like little bombs of colour, you know, so they're like waiting to just go deeper. If you see them, disperse them. You want a nice smooth application, okay? No little spots. Okay. So that is her done. So, oh, she's dripping. We've got, that is not because of the pot, that's because we got the heating on really high, and it's just turned into a sauna. Like, I'm literally boiling, but it was freezing this morning, so, you know, just make sure she's nice and clean. John's gonna be disgusted with me. Okay, so, a little recap on what we've just done. So we work on a pre-neutralized base, so as we said, either with highlight, eye care, you can use silver shampoo and conditioner, or you can go in with your traditional colour just to neutralise out the yellow. So remember, you want a violet based toner. And what we've done is we have worked with a diamond underneath with a apex on the front hairline in line with the nose, going to another apex at above the ear, and then just above the nape. So we've got a nice little diamond outline. Then we've created a zigzag halo through the top here, just to disperse through the fringe area and through the rest of the head, just to give it softness. So what we're doing is we're creating strength on the outside, we're giving colour around the face, so when she opens this up, you're really going to see that colour. And then we've also got the two tones that are just going to help to merge that all together. Okay, so we worked with pastels, Stella Salmon, Aquamarine and Wild Orchid. I will put the formulas on my social so you can see with a little update of what they are. And then we're going to develop this for 15 minutes, wash it off, and I will post the end result onto our socials. Okay guys, again, apologies for the fact that we were so late due to technical difficulties. Thank you for being so patient, and for those of you that have come into the PGLE Social Trainer Facebook so I can see and interact with you, thank you so much. I will read the comments from the watch party because unfortunately I can't see what they're saying. And I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye guys.